Not sure where this one's gonna go, but I'm calling this one Young Husband's Tales. I'm calling it Young Husband's Tales as you could call it the opposite or the inverse of Old Wives' Tales. You know, Old Wives' Tales. And Old Wives' Tales get a hard rap, man, because they got a couple wrong along the way. Even though they were right at the fucking time for their daughters and sons. But they've got a hard rap for how they have held up through time. Yet, Old Wives' Tales, in that path of mitochondrial DNA, a, the bond, between a man and his father is a one-linked chain. The bond between a mother and her grandmother are a braided braid, a rope stronger than iron. In the lineage of men's, when men fail, the weakest link. Let's go. But in the lineage of women's, there has never been a broken chain or broken rope. Half of you, whether you're a man or a woman, was made inside your grandmother, inside your mother. Half of you, the egg in your mother, was made inside your grandmother. Inside your mother. So between you and your maternal grandmother, there's a living system, living trinity. That's not nothing. But then also, within, if you're a woman, right? Because even a woman, half of a woman is born inside her mother, inside her grandmother. Because a mother is born with all her eggs. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The egg. Period. It's funny, man. These age-old riddles actually get teased out. And what's the genesis of the egg? The mother. And what's the genesis of the mother? The grandmother. Where the egg was formed. Turtles all the way down? No. Eggs all the way down. What I wanted to talk about actually was body language. Because there's been a lot of things over the last several years, I've watched actually quite a few videos on body language. Thank you, YouTube, and thank you, contributors. Thank you, people like me who say what you know so that others may learn. Right? I'm at the outskirts of knowledge. I'm at the crossroads. Like, I live in a pretty safe place and all this, but like ideologically, where I live, how I live, between my family, between the society that I live in, the demographic that I live in, and then the demographic that I work at. Very different. And then the demographic that I work with, also very different. So, all of us delve in and out of these strata. And the people that we interact with within these strata come in and out of these strata. We're sowing this in some cases, right? Among the people because we talk about in the world 6 degrees of separation, right? But everybody you see, more or less, 95+% of the people, more than that, 98% of the people that you see during the day, you have a zero, or rather, a fraction of the people that you see every day, you have a 0 degree connection with, being like You see each other regularly. You know each other in a way. That 0 degree doesn't mean you're in the same place. Because you might be a 0 degree like this. But you might be a 0 degree like this. Right? And between all of those 0 degree relationships, most of the people you see in a day, if you're a typical person, have a 1 degree separation. So everybody you see in a day, I shouldn't say everybody, but a large percentage of the people that we see in a day, even if we don't recognize them, they know somebody we know. They have a connection with somebody we have a connection with, at greater and lesser degrees. And we will go to our graves not knowing most of them. There are people that we may shy away from in a way because maybe they look too dirty, or maybe they look too clean, or maybe they're too loud, or maybe they're too quiet. You know, there are people, or maybe because we ourselves are scared. That's my case. I'm scared of everybody. Everybody. Like, if you're a short old woman, if you're a short old 80-year-old woman, I am fucking super scared of you. Because I'm like, this lady's short, she's a woman, and she's old. She's got like every worst demographic. And she's beautiful, and she's polite. She moves with extreme efficiency. And she looks like she's gonna outlast me. I'm very scared of her knowledge because I'm intimidated by her knowledge. I'm intimidated by her knowledge because clearly she has slain a dragon that I have not slain. Other old ladies I'm afraid of for different reasons, you know, but for some reason I focused upon that one. Imagine a sighted, right? Well, there's Mr. Magoo. If you don't know Mr. Magoo, Google it. Spend tonight and tomorrow watching Mr. Magoo, and then come back to this. But picture a Mr. Magoo who can see and is a woman. A sage, a master, a mentor, a mother, a matriarch. Oh. And more young in heart than the youngest among us. So that's what I'm talking about old wives' tales, right? Yeah, there's some crazy old bitches, and they're the ones who get called out. And now here I'm being metaphoric, so, you know, please don't cancel me for saying that. Like, there's some crazy old bitches, there's some crazy old pricks. I'm a crazy old prick. You know? And unfortunately, like if I didn't have this outlet, being a single man of my age, being a single man beyond middle age, living the life I live as literally a dirty painter, very literally, and also figuratively more along the way than I'd like, but not totally. Yeah, the old wives' tale gets a bad rap, and that's why the old wives wrote in code. If you think there isn't a history of women's written by women's, you're not looking close enough. Yeah, the men, they made a lot of books. They made a lot of shit. For the women who knew, which were few. They were a rare flower. They were a rare seed, a rare fruit, and a rare plant. Those women's. But their communications, they were sewn into the recipes. The hidden histories of women, more than you can ever imagine, right? Way before Hypatia, I'm talking way before Hypatia, Egyptian priestesses, all that kind of thing. But most people wouldn't even, Hypatia, most people, because I'm thinking of myself, me several years ago, thinking about something that happened 300 years ago. It's like, that's forever ago. Fuck that shit. It's ancient times. But as we get older, and circumstances change, and also as we get older, our percentage of life compared to, when I was 3. Or when I was 13 and people were talking about something 300 years ago, that was many multitudes of my lifetime back to 300 years ago. Now that I'm 45, I can extrapolate a little bit. I've learned something in these 45 years. Something. I'm still the most. I still participate in the form of the most complicated, dynamic, governed and free-willed entity. I'm among that form of the most beautiful and rational objects in the universe that we all know of and can all agree upon. Now, we can go inside of that, we can go outside of that. We can make different distinctions, we can carve off different pieces of that argument, but without a doubt, if you're into God, if you're not into God, if you're into the alien shit, if you're not into the alien shit, if you're into astronomy, or if you're into, I don't know, micro physics. I don't even know. Is people say quantum physics as if quantum is like their astronomy pretty well presumes everything like from Earth out. I guess there's not really a good term for everything from the Earth in, and certainly not from the human, Maybe we need a few different, because there's astronomy, which is basically from the atmosphere out, from the moon to infinity, which isn't infinity, it's however many billion light years away. So how can the universe be infinite? Well, what's happening at the edge? That's how it can be infinite. To a threshold. But it's not infinite. It's just more than we can count. It's so presumptuous of us to talk about infinity, except for the way that it's useful interiorly until it collapses upon a threshold, right? Calculus is the most important, until Wildberger. Leibniz, Newton, most important thing since Wildberger. That motherfucker's... Everyone who watches this video, you, me, and everyone we know and can ever dream of is going to be long dead when they're fucking worshiping Wildberger on the fucking top of the fucking mountain. You can take that to the fucking bank. Finally, I said something true. But yeah, what I was going to talk about was body language. It was really simple, actually. It came up lately a lot because of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. What's going on nowadays? Which, if you don't know about it, don't. If you can follow this without getting into it, don't even worry about it. Okay, it depends on how long from now you're watching this, but. And it just depends on your natural inward inclinations that I can't speak to, and are between you and God, and which come first and way before me. And there's a lot of other shit too that ought to come way before me. But if you've been around this long, stick around. A young husband's tale, an old wives' tale. Well, there's a lot of young husbands' tales going on around these days. And a lot of it has to do with science, even though, here's the thing, man. Pseudoscience has value. All of it. Because almost all science is pseudoscience. Because there's always a given. There's always a given. And if you're a philosopher, if you're a philologist, if you're into logic at all, you can dive into that and pick it apart. The better schooled you are, not even in every different topic, diving into all these different subjects, becoming a generalist. Some people, okay, I'm a loose generalist. I'm a layperson, armchair generalist, right? I'm also a drunk, which is some people prefer wino, some people prefer alcoholic. I prefer drunk, but the one thing I'm not yet is a suicide victim. So, yet. But, people talk about how many lives alcohol takes, and that's a good point. People don't talk about how many lives alcohol saves, and I'm not saying that to promote alcohol at all. If you've never drank, don't do it ever. If you got along, it's just like, the world needs more sober people, and if you already can operate in the world soberly and be pretty happy, if you're pretty happy and just like a little disappointed and you don't drink, you don't realize how good you got it. With occasional heartache. If every day you have is just endless toil, endless heartache, and you're sober, have a fucking drink, right? That's the split. And this is, again, I'm not praying this for me or for anyone else, but it's something that I think about. It's my job from where I stand to talk about what I think about, right? Right or wrong. I want to learn. I'll watch this video. I watch my videos all the fucking time, man. I'm the only one who does, so far. And what I see in myself is mostly like, I hate this fucking guy. Tomorrow morning, because I'm making this video right now, just like the last video I made, the last one, the one before that, every single fucking one I've ever made. The next morning I wake up, except for one. There was one video I made that I didn't feel bad about the next morning. And that was the red pepper heart video. But besides that one, every other one I made, I felt bad about. The next morning, I'm gonna feel bad about this one. A lot of it's because I don't remember. I got so much shit rattling up here. All I'm doing right now, everything that led me up to pressing record, was just this long thought where I had like 100 different conversations going in my head. And then all of a sudden they collapse upon me pressing record, and I haven't talked about what I wanted to talk about. One of the 100 conversations in my head, I was like, oh, that's the one I'm going to talk about. I press record, I talk about something else. That's how it works. But there's that one line. Don't worry about what you'll say. The world's crazy. So the world needs cohesive, crazy talk. That's my gift. I have fucking crazy talk. I'm ashamed and embarrassed of my presentation, you know. Besides that, man, I got the fucking bag. There's an image inside me that I can see clear as a fucking bell. And it's just this clumsy, you know, in some sense. In some sense, I'm a beautiful soul. And it's trying to shine through this garbage bag of pudding. It'll either work or it won't. But I'm gonna try. I'm trying whether I press record or not. And it will work whether I press record or not. But if I press record and then it works, like if I press record and it don't work, I'm deleted like I would have been anyway. But if I press record and somewhere down the line it fucking works like it did that one day, then all that other fucking horseshit meant something. And if I die without that, I'm gonna die like right up to the last second, falling down, upside down, falling down to the earth with my eyes open until that first fucking grain of sand goes in this eye and out the back of my fucking head. Every second along the way. Just make it count. Just make it count. The optimal situation would be to enliven or enlighten or resurrect all the way down to the fucking ashes. And then that's a hard philosophy to wrap your head around. But it's also the most heroic thing one can think of. Now think of the heroism of the universe out of nothing. Nothing to the universe. So that means we're halfway there. Because the universe is pretty big and pretty impressive. But as big as the universe is, it is not as impressive as a human being. Our art, our humanity, our striving to not only civilize ourselves, but to civilize the wilds. And not in this ridiculous critique of like the Western way or whatever. But like true harmony, true humanity. Not just the humanities, like Erasmus, that fucking douchebag Erasmus Rotterdam. I'm only saying that because he criticized Julius. He criticized Julius for Julius's opulence. Right? I appreciate Erasmus of Rotterdam. I appreciate his thrust against senseless opulence. My critique is that, or should I say, just putting him in his place. So like due respect, props Erasmus, dear Erasmus, big props for like calling out power and speaking authority to power. But what y'all didn't know, motherfucking Erasmus, because you ain't no fucking prophet, is that Julius constructed a fucking vault around the prophecy of Raphael. And I'm just gonna put it to you like this. You're saying Julius, who wore that Lincoln beard. That's not an accident. What? Oh, you're crazy. What are we talking about? We're talking about fucking God. Is there or isn't there a God? Is there or isn't there prophecy? You think all prophets are buried in fucking books? Every church, every Christian church really is. I mean, Jesus said Peter was the rock. Why was Peter the rock? Because Peter didn't write. Peter is an illiterate, working class fisherman. You don't get no more salt of the earth, than the man who goes out to sea, parks at the shore, and walks inland to home. Salt of the earth? Yeah. Peter's the rock. Why is he the rock? Because he's the illiterate. Why is he the rock? Because the oral tradition won in those years, in those days, in that day. The oral tradition won. Peter's message hasn't even yet begun to be heard. Because he took those smoked fish. He took those smoked fish off of Simon Magus's, I don't know what you call it. He took Simon Magus's smoked fish, dried fish, threw them back in the water, and they came to life again. So that's the answer to Ichthyosoptau. I don't know how to pronounce it. Broiled fish. A very suspect word, both of them. Yeah, what I wanted to talk about was a young husband's tale. And that's what I feel like a lot of science is. The only thing I really wanted to talk about, because it's come up, it came up in a TED Talk, it's been coming up a lot lately, all these different things. Because a lot of people have been watching the Amber Heard trial, and like her face changes a lot. And there are, basically it was, okay, so there's this big thing in the world today. I don't know when you're watching this. It could be 10, 100,000 years from now. But like, there's this big thing in this world today, this divorce between these famous actors. And like, basically, it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. No one's really said it like it is. Just flat out, once and for all, it's like her talking, her being recorded talking about hitting her husband. That's it. That's what. There's one piece of evidence, and everything grows around that. So, that's one side of the story. The other side of the story, which nobody talks about, is Johnny was too old for her, and he should have fucking known better. He took on the role of a father, and he failed in that sense, even though he tried. So far as the law goes today, that argument ain't ever gonna fucking fly. But that would be the argument of a truth and reconciliation process, which we should have. We should have legal truth and reconciliation, like legally binding truth and reconciliation processes that have to work, and if they do work, they heal. We need to move away from punitive, right? They're suing each other over these counting claims, right? But what if they came to a truth process where there was an entire court? What if the jury asked questions? Random people asking each person a question. And around them, there was like, the judge was like a therapist or a clergy person, or you know what I'm saying? Like just different ways to like commit ourselves to a legal process that isn't punitive, because these days all of our legality is centralized around punitivity. It's also centralized around like, which is good, but like, you know, lifting you up by your bootstraps kind of thing. But I think we could go much further than that, which is just like a process that demands, doesn't even demand, a prerequisite to the process is we all have worth. We've all made mistakes. Let's find a way to get to the bottom of this and at least part gently, in peace, and imagine this, with genuine well wishes for that crazy bitch. Yes, genuine well wishes for that crazy bitch and that stupid asshole. Me, even me. Now, is that my prayer to God? No, my prayer to God, like today on the way home, was, you know, God, I can't conceive of forgiving myself for the wrongs I've done. And that speaks to the problem of forgiveness I have in my life, even though I've made strides toward like genuine forgiveness. But as soon as my feathers get ruffled, I'm like, I'm not murderous or anything, and I don't really wish I will, but I'm just like, motherfucker, you know, like, get me the fuck out of here. You know? Gotta get away from this motherfucker, instead of being like, that's my brother. If I were a father, if I were a mother, that would be my child. I could be that person's brother. What if I were that person's son? What if it was my job to help this person? What if it was my job just to smile at this guy today? Because the last 5 people frowned, because they had something on their mind and he took it personally. And someone just, oh, the world's a nice place. I'm just talking about myself. One of the things when you pull yourself away from a lot of friendships and sociability, you know, I lived the first half of my life very extroverted, and I've lived this next half of my life increasingly introverted. Now to the point where you can get more introverted than I am, but not much. But then again, those last few percent are crushing. Because it's like closing the gasket of a hose, of a water faucet, right? Yeah, you're 90% off, but that water's still... You gotta touch down, right? So in some sense, the difference between me and a true hermit is just about infinite, but at least, you know, I'm only halfway there, even though I have like 0 friends. I shouldn't say that. A lot of people love me just from the past or whatever, but you know what I mean. Anyway, when people, there was this old TED Talk, and it was the first time that I'd seen this type of content online. You know, there's this old TED Talk that talked about how if you look up to the right, it means you're lying. And having watched myself in my own video, like I watch my own videos, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 times. I'll watch one of my own videos that I made because I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about. It's been actually very helpful because I'm always looking shit up and then I forget it. But if I make a video about it and watch it later, I'll remember. And that's basically my main form of documentation. Just talking about shit. But there's this old TED Talk video about how if you look up to the right, it means you're lying. And watching myself and trying to observe myself when I do that, I also recognize that there are all kinds of ways that our bodies have directional propensities. Right, that actually kind of reminds me how like 98, I think it's in the 90 percentile. I think it's like 98 of all like heavy metal, well, supposedly 98% of all heavy metal mosh pits, I believe travel counterclockwise, maybe clockwise. I believe it's counterclockwise. But either way, there's like one specific spiral direction that mosh pits generally spin in, you know, and like. My question is, well, does that have anything to do with, because a lot of times a lead singer of a band, when he'll start going like this. So is there some kind of reciprocal response to the lead singer spinning in a certain way? I don't know. Like I'm right-handed, but I don't know if I'd have a microphone preference. I might prefer to use the microphone in my left hand so that I can be more animated with my right hand, which is my dominant hand. You know, I don't know. I just instinctively raise my left hand because it does. Yeah, it's more comfortable. Like if I had the mic, I'm right-handed. If I had the mic in my right hand and I started spinning, it just feels more uncomfortable. This feels more comfortable. You know, because that's my dominant hand. And it's weird to do shit like that. Try to do shit with your left hand. Because then you'll find your whole body moves in a different way. It's like if I kneel down trying to paint, actually it's hard to, about the last year. First it was my right knee, now it's my left knee. Fucked up for the second time in my life, but it's making me have to discover new ways of getting down on the ground where I used to be really, really good at it till not long ago, couple years. It's all went to shit quick. But yeah, 98% of mosh pits, I believe, go counterclockwise. The anomalies would be interesting. Like, I want to hear the songs. I want to hear the bands that those other 2 or 3% are going counter directionally. That would be sweet. Those bands. Yeah, like a playlist of those bands. So, AI, find. Oh shit. And then, yeah, but I think what it is, what I've seen, looking at myself and thinking about it and trying to come up with a counter argument, because I've seen myself looking to the right and pausing and looking and thinking when I'm telling the truth. And what it is but I've also seen myself looking to the left doing the same thing. Like, Sometimes we stop and we stare wherever we're looking, and there might be a reason why we look to the right. It might be because our bed is here and our TV is here. And most of our imagining happens by looking at our TV. So when we want to imagine, right? TV is the biggest, TV, movies, whatever, but like however we view images, our phone, that is the greatest centralization of our imagination. We can't get away from it. It's the most compelling thing on earth. It is the focal. Media is the focal point. Computer screen, a screen, whether we read, whether we're watching something. But even if we're reading, because of the way the internet's designed and just everything's designed these days, all the you walk through the checkout line at the grocery store and it's like magazines, Bing bong bing boom bah. So even the dumbest motherfucker in America is so visually sophisticated. That's one of the upsides of pop culture that people don't talk about. The artifice of the lie cannot outrun the truth. It only creates more truth. We're becoming more sophisticated without even knowing it in ways we can't begin to comprehend or imagine. We are becoming a more benevolent, beautiful, perfect world without even knowing it. And this, see, it's different now because we have these fucking phones in our hands. Anything we want to know, anytime we want to know it, we can learn something about, just about. Or for the most part. Just an absolute fucking explosion. I was just thinking today, just some of the things I've looked up in the last couple months, right? I would have needed, if I went to the library to learn, just searching all kinds of shit, watching all kinds of shit, but like, if I'm looking up an old word from the Bible, it's like I got Strong's Concordance right at my hands. I got the Greek, I got the Armenian, I got the Arabic, I got the fucking Hebrew. I look all that shit up in like 2 seconds. Okay, yep, yep, okay, yep, That's like 5 books I would have had to get out right off. And at least another 4 or 5 just like that I might use just for that little bit. But I went on and on and on and on and on from there. I would have needed to get, encyclopedias, specialty books, all this shit to get what I got just by being like, well, I got a little video playing down this fucking big in the corner of my phone. Well, I'm learning about other shit. That's all of us. That's fucking huge. And the truth is going to collapse upon it. It's just, the truth is already swirling around it. And there's all these different ways, all these different various ways that people are trying to shut it down. And you can't outrun the truth. And trust me, I've fucking tried. Nope. And one of the reasons I'm shut off in my apartment, I got this little box I live in. I got this box I live in. Thank God. Thank you, God. I got this box I live in. Thank God. And I got electricity, vinyl siding's falling off. If I got mold everywhere. I won't even tell you about the rest of the shit. Fucking walls rotten. This, that, whatever. Don't smell very nice in here. I'm safe. I don't get eaten by bears or alligators or hippopotami. I have a room of my own like Virginia Woolf. And that's more than most people who have ever lived. Thank you, God. And may I use that gift to contribute. So who am I contributing to? There are billions of people in the world living today who wish they had what I have. Who people rarely, if ever, talk about. It's our job to save every soul. And figuring out a way how to get there. Well, I figured out part of the way. I gotta pass it on. Even if I am a dipshit. I still got this. I'm not as big, I'm not as strong, but like, I can do things the sun can't do. I can do things the moon can't do. I can do things Pluto can't do. I can do things the Milky Way can't do. I can do things dogs and cats and fucking apes and... We, as objects, separately and exponentially together, but even we as an individual object, it's just, I'm still alive. I got all kinds of bad shit going on. I'm still alive. I can still contribute. I can still most dreams, some dreams do come true. And some people through history have so believed in a dream that it's not a dream. The imagination does two things. It dreams and it forms the future. It responds to the teleological pull of the want of the omega point. Some dreams, like, make ground. The things that people have dreamed, the things that mothers and fathers have dreamed for their children, in many ways have been exceeded, here and there, and cumulatively. One of the reasons, like, there's nothing else on Earth like our species. A large portion of our species can go and sit anywhere in their daily vicinity with complete comfort and freedom and just be like, sitting on the park bench, sitting in the field, sitting at home, sitting in this public place, that public place, this private place, this natural place, this trail, this mountain, this Antarctica, in this space station. Most of us can kind of sit back for most of the day and be like, pretty okay. Even if we're freaking out about all the shit going on in our lives, like, one of the things most of us, still too many, but most people who at least would be watching this video, still a minority on the planet, but who even possibly could. Forgot what I was going to say, so I'll trail back to where I started with the young husband's tale. The young husband's tale. There's probably a better term for that. The young bridegroom's, the young groom's tale. The new groom's tale. The Virgin Groom's Tale. Is yeah, that whole thing with looking to the right or whatever. Just watching myself and watching myself look to the right. It's like looking away is just a way to try to condense this whirlwind of information. Where it's like if you see a big picture, or like, you know, if you watch the whole, like if you watched every single Harry Potter movie, if you read every single Harry Potter book, you know, and someone put you on the spot and was like, what's it about? You're gonna miss most of it. Most people wouldn't say that the moral of the lesson of the entire story, most people would miss this, I think. And to my mind, it's the most important part of the entire story. Is when Hermione, I just can't say her name. Hermione erases her from her parents' memory. It's the most selfless act. It passes almost without notice. I've never read the books. I've just watched all the movies a few times. Yeah, it's the most selfless act. It's the point. And that's the type of young woman whose old wives' tales would live on in truth for generations upon generations upon generations. But some of these scientific young groom's tales are worth noting. They're worth noting because perhaps they're identifying something. But the whole deal with looking to the right and you're lying. Lying is a creative process. What if looking to the right signifies that you're imagining? So if you lie, you're trying to create something. So you're looking into the ether, you're taking all the shit that you can visualize and putting it into something that works for you that you can then say. But then what also, you know, like, what if you're the world's greatest expert on Aristotle and like the nuances and the shape of all of those fucking texts that like no one's read, and you've read all of them, you know, and you know them inside and out. And someone asks you about some like vague philosophical point that has no relation to like anything pertinent at all, but it's still very human and true. Like, can you boil all that shit down to say like one little bitty thing? So this is the opposite of that. Like, to say that you're lying, now that might be one way of talking about trying to create something. But if you're like, I mean, someone like me, all I talk about is abstract shit. Just scenarios. It's either storytelling or it's trying to create some other type of model. Simple, armchair, layperson, country boy from the other side of the tree. But at least hopefully I'm definitely trying to speak to my lifeblood. As haggard as it is. But I'm trying to speak to something behind that. So they say things should be taken with a grain of salt. And that's just it. So when people say that, when people are, when people look up to the right, they're lying. That should be taken with a grain of salt. But take the grain. Like, take the grain. Take the grain of salt. Take the thing. Take the grain of salt. But what's one grain of salt do? Nothing. What's one grain of, I think it was Blavatsky who said it had something to do with like the great work, pursuing the great work that transcends between all traditions. The great work. About pursuing the great work, especially at first. What should one do? And I believe it was her. I could have that wrong. She said, read everything. Now, back when she said that, that was the only way to get a bunch of shit. But already, so early on in this evolutionary information truth process, there's already so much out there. So it's just a different way of taking things in. And there's still a lot of place for like that immersive novel, that immersive story, or that immersive text, But increasingly, we can listen to Audible books or LibriVox books. There are different ways to get information. YouTube videos. Every Joe Schmo, even me, are making videos. And even me, yes, even me, I provide information. And if I just reach one person at all, ever, one day, like in any way that matters, it's all been worth it. Because hopefully what I'm trying to do here is, at the very least, speak to my heart. And it's the only place in the world I feel safe to do it. Like in full, or even to any degree. It's not, my channel's not full, but it's pretty sincere. Yeah, we just have to be careful for young groom's tales. Some old wives' tales are horseshit. And some, man, some reach all the way back. And their secrets have been written in recipes, sewn in quilts, woven in sweaters, hats, and mittens.